What's up? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I'm Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me we have some more RPG horror stories. I am finally reaching that perfect peak, beautiful moment in my D&D server where my friends actually start want to learn how to DM, and nothing makes me feel more happier than teaching my friends how to play my favorite game, including DMing. I feel like playing as a player is a very key part of enjoying D&D, or really any TTRPG, but DMing, it's like you get to see behind the scenes. It's a bit similar to watching, like, let's say for example, I don't know, a VTuber animate around and then learning how to make your own model at the same time. From the years of working on Blender and Unity and making models and stuff and animating them and making them work and do what I'm doing here, it makes you see beyond the veil, because I can't look at video game models and like normal again. I always look at the normal maps and the technical aspects of it and the specular reflections. You don't look at pretty sparks and animation, you see the particle systems and particle effects and sequences and everything. When you lift the veil behind the craft, it's like looking at somebody naked for the very first time. It just gets stuck in your head and you can't unsee it. What was I talking about? Yeah, RPG horror stories. Let's get into that right now. Player decides not to engage with the game, acts crappy when nothing interesting happens to his character. Prefacing this by saying this maybe doesn't reach the level of a horror story, just an encounter with a random crappy player. But it stuck with me for a while now, so I figure I'd share nonetheless. So on to this story. I decided to join an Eberron 5e game in an app website called Rollgate, which is a platform for playing asynchronous TTRPG games through a chat, where the DM made clear this would be a less guided open world type game before starting us, for players including me, off at a tavern in a small town. Having just arrived there. From the start, the player in the story centers around, who I'll just call the Sorcerer, since this was his class, was giving me bad vibes since he was kind of abrasive, but I figured maybe this being text made him come off ruder than he meant to. After a brief fight in the tavern, we each left our own devices in this town, and everyone goes on their separate ways to explore. I don't remember what the other two were doing, but I, being a rogue, started looking for crime opportunities. Meanwhile, the sorcerer strays behind at the tavern and starts making passive-aggressive comments at the DM because nothing interesting was happening, even after being reminded that the intent was for us to go out and do what he wanted, which he responded by saying that his character wouldn't just start wandering around. Throughout this, the DM and I have been PMing each other, joking about the situation. So the player just wants to stay at the tavern and not explore the world or see things, just wants to stay because exploration is stupid. I wouldn't go exploring. Well, then I guess he's stuck at the tavern just drinking. It's like visiting a brand new place that you've never been to, but you decide to stick in a coffee shop for like 3 days in a row because you don't want to explore the rest of the place because exploration is bad, I guess? I don't know. Eventually, the DM relents in saying his character spots two suspicious people outside. The sorcerer goes after them, catches one where the other escapes, and makes him confess they were pickpocketing out looking for money. The sorcerer simply says that he doesn't care, goes back to sit at the tavern, starts making his snide comments again. By comparison, my character was talking to an NPC about robbing a house together at the time. This, alongside the other two players not interacting much, the reason why I don't know, led to the DM shutting the game down, and they even apologized to us for it not working out. I think the game had a ton of potential and the DM was clearly invested, so it really sucked that they got saddled with this a-hole. My brother in Christ, the whole point is for you to explore the world, not just be stuck in a tavern. Of course, nothing interesting is gonna happen if you're gonna be stuck in a tavern the whole damn time. You gotta go out in the world, see places, do things, interact with the world around you. If you sit in a tavern all day, nothing is interesting gonna happen. Do you want the interesting things to come to the tavern? You want it just to hand over on a silver platter without stepping outside? Wow, that sounds so exciting. Damn. Hello, this is Desktop Morrow, adding stuff because Virtual Morrow completely forgot to add a little bit more to the story. Anyway, I'm not trying to put the full blame on the sorcerer. Clearly there's something going on. Either there's a massive miscommunication between the DM and what they want to do for the game and the players of understanding what sort of a game DM wants to try to run, or the sorcerer just didn't understand the assignment and decided to make a character that's gonna be very, I don't want to explore the world, I'd rather stay in the tavern all day. Kinda doesn't make sense to do for a world or a game type that is specifically focused around players going outside of the tavern and doing stuff and exploring different places and getting different encounters depends on what they do specifically. The DM trying to throw a hook of catching a couple of thieves and bandits and make him admit to stealth is one way the DM was trying to coax the player into engaging with the rest of the world. But if the player just decides to just drop it and go back to the tavern because it's clearly uninteresting to them and they just want to wait until something more interesting happens, then it's just going to be a difficult part on the DM side of things in order to try to coax the excitement out of players. You can't force excitement. I'm going to make a wild assumption, but maybe it could be correct. Maybe they just didn't have a proper session zero to talk about what sort of a campaign this is going to be, what is the expectation from the DM, what are the expectations from the players, and like understanding what the game is all about, understanding the importance of getting your character to step out of the tavern and actually explore places and go do things and stuff like that. Because I mean, the sorcerer wasn't the only one that wasn't engaging with stuff. The other players weren't engaging with that either, so maybe people just didn't understand the assignment. Either way, I think there was just a lot of miscommunication going on from there. Did the sorcerer not engage? Yeah, sure. But as the OP said themselves, the other players didn't exactly engage either, so maybe there was just a lot of misunderstanding in the background going on. Anyway, off to the next story. Player decides to have sex with a demon in 40k Dark Heresy. What a title. I joined an interesting game for Dark Heresy 2, one of my greatest RPG loves. I'm stoked to get to play it again. I make an ex-guardsman and join the party of a Sororita, Psyker, and some kind of Han Solo type pirate who is also a blank, a type of anti-Psyker. 3 first sessions go amazingly. Our job is to work under an Inquisitor and track down a cult inner circle. Our sessions stretch because we're having so much fun. Session 4 opens and we manage to do just that. There's a bit of a party split. Me and a pirate go to steal the cult funds, a money case, and the Sororita and the Psyker go to try to prevent the cult from blowing up a water reservoir. Me and the pirate find out the cult has managed to summon a demon and bind it to a mortal body. Basically handed the demon a person to possess, more or less. I'm pretty experienced in the system and I figured we can probably take the encounter, so we go for it. Because of how the dice land, we managed to knock out the demon host without outright killing it. Pirate announces he wants to save this possessed person by exorcising the demon. I'm like, why not? It's possible, albeit hard. I don't think any of the PCs know how. Psyker might, but he's not around. Then he announces that the method he will do that is by having sex with a possessed. I don't think you can bang the demon out of somebody. At least I don't know my Warhammer 40k lore that greatly, but I'm pretty sure you can't bang a demon out of someone. Everyone kind of goes, ew, and he's, bros, sister, I'm just trying to save her. Now, I don't know where he got the idea of sexorcism to his head. Apparently some anime? I don't know Japanese titles. It's not a thing in 40k. You can exercise, but it doesn't involve sex. Yeah, in some hentai animes that could work, but this is Warhammer 40k. Jesus Christ. Let's keep reading. Everyone, included the DM, tells him this idea won't work, but he is adamant it goes on with it as the cult gets some damn lucky reinforcements and knocks me out. Elsewhere, the Psyker blows himself up accidentally, and the Sororita subsequently goes down too. So only active guys that want having sex as of present, and it's looking like a TPK. Okay, hold on, there's all kinds of bad wrong here. Not only is he having sex with somebody who's unconscious, but also somebody who's unconscious and possessed that clearly is not consenting to this whole thing. I hope the DM doesn't allow this and says, no, you don't do that, but seems like the DM haven't yet, I don't know. Our DM apparently decides to take mercy on us and has our Inquisitor employer swoop down to save us. He and his troops mob down the cult quite handily, pick up my character and the Sororita, both unconscious. Once he reaches the room where the dude is having sex with the demon, the Inquisitor just goes like, burn the whole thing, please. Pirate goes ballistic on GM, dropping falling rocks on him in form of this powerful NPC who came to save everyone else, but went out of his way to kill him and rage quits from the call. Everyone just kinda concludes the session awkwardly. Still have no idea if the guy's coming back or not. Well, the character got burned alive, and I mean, for a good reason. Imagine if you're the Inquisitor and you have to rescue the party that you decided to hire to deal with a cult, and you stumble upon the one guy that's trying to bang the demon out of somebody who's unconscious. Yeah, you would think they lost their mind, probably will possess as well. So yeah, burn the whole thing down. Probably sounds like a reasonable response in Warhammer 40k. Lesson learned, don't bang demons in Warhammer 40k. Just don't bang unconscious people in general in any TTRPGs. It's just weird, man. Just don't do that. Let's get to the next story for today. Server Disappearing Act. This campaign was over a year ago, and only lasted one session for context. This is my third D&D game where this story took place. Also, sorry if the story is formatted weird, I'm autistic and struggle with grammar, so please bear with me. Cast is me, DM, Barbarian, Fighter, Goffle, Sorcerer, and Ranger. You might wonder why one of the cast members has a name while the rest have called their classes. The reason is because there were 2 sorcerers in a party, and wanted a way to make it appear which one I'm referring to. First thing first, context. We're starting at level 1. I was playing a kobold bard named Sapphire Wyvern. TLDR for her backstories, her brother was killed without her knowing, and she started searching for him. Me, Barbarian, and Sorcerer were newbies in the group. The session started with a party meeting in town. Sapphire was playing a few songs and asking if people saw her brother. Goffle came over and claimed to see him, briefly causing out-of-game confusion when you roll for deception after claiming that. DM shut him down and let him know that PCs are off limits for that kind of thing. After some time, an earthquake of some sort broke the ground open, and our party were sent into the earth below. One quick gathering of the party later, and a battle was started. During said battle, Goffle went into melee and was knocked out quick. I healed him on my turn and had her say in character to be more careful. Goffle then tries to attack from a distance, but misses and later got knocked out again. Melee sorcerers just really don't work. I wish there was a subclass that would just straight up melee sorcerer, no multi-classing or anything like that, just melee sorcerer able to melee sorcerer things. I don't know what sort of thing. Maybe I'll dabble in homebrewing some stuff. I don't know. I never really homebrew any sort of things like subclasses or anything, but it might be kind of fun to experiment with some things. I don't know. First combat, and Sapphire had already used both her spell slots healing Goffle. Naturally, she is not happy and tells him that she's annoyed that she used up her magic that fast because of his carelessness, and suggests the Barbarian lead the charge instead. He proceeds to charge ahead and almost get himself knocked out again. The fight worked out in favor, but Sapphire was very annoyed by Goffle at this point and suggests that he stay in the back since she can heal him. Goffle listened this time, but when the party ran into a cornered animal, he tried to intimidate them and failed, which provoked it and combat began again. After that, the session went pretty normal and everyone was looking forward to the next session. I mean, besides Goffle being a Goffle, I guess. Is that an insult? It is now. When you're a Goffle, it means you kind of goofy. You goofy goofball, basically. That's what a Goffle is. You run in melee combat when you're supposed to be far away. You do things that are completely unnecessary, but you do them anyway. Is that me to do? I don't know. Goffle sounds like a perfect little... It's like goober, right? It has a sort of kind of vibe to it. However, when the time came, the server was gone, both from Roll20 and Discord. I was confused by this and reached out through DMs to DM and the players. Barbarian and Sorcerer were first to respond and were just as confused as I was. Later, Goffle responded and said the DM told him the session was cancelled because of infighting allegedly caused by Barbarian, Sorcerer, and I. Goffle said he doubted that though, since if that was the case, then how do you explain the same people forming a group chat to find out what happened? Later, DM responded and said the deaths in the family made things too stressful. Apparently he was gonna tell the whole server before he shut it down, but chose not to since in no words, it would just be deleted right after anyway. Before I could respond, he removed me as a friend, and since his settings prevent DMs unless you're either friends or have a common server, I couldn't respond. I'm still friends with the Barbarian, Sorcerer, and Goffle, though I have not talked to them in a while. Hopefully they're doing alright. I mean, if there's death in the family for the DM, I understand, it's so much pressure and stuff, and you probably just need a little bit of a break, and things get overwhelming. But I think the DM kind of misread the situation, saw the players, I guess, RPing and interacting and stuff, and I guess thought it was some sort of infighting instead of, just roleplay. Because sometimes players can have a little bit of, a in-character roleplay fight. Micah and I constantly get Morrow and Micah into spat all the time in game, and they constantly argue like a married couple. But out of character, me and Micah I'll just DM each other, be like, oh my god, this is so stupid and funny, I love it, because we're both in on a joke. And even though we are being a little bit extra sometimes, it kind of flaring up the conflict between each other. There's not really a conflict, just two dumb people arguing. Sometimes it may feel like sometimes it's like infighting, but it's never is. It's always in roleplay. They make it very blatant, like in the moment and in sessions that like, we're cool, we're just, you know, having fun. This is our way to have fun. A little bit of in-character conflict as long as it's roleplay only, not extra feelings being like brought in and stuff out of character. I think it's perfectly fine. For the DM to misread that and think that's infighting and players are just not enjoying their time, it's not good because the DM is kind of reading a little bit too hard into this, just a little bit too hard into this. But hey, maybe they have problems going on with all the stress from like deaths in the family, and if they need to take a break, then take a break. There's nothing wrong with taking breaks, especially if you're going through something stressful or something super busy. There's no problem with taking a break, especially if you're going through something super stressful like a family emergency or family death. Completely fine. So DM, I hope you take your time and feel better. The rest of y'all, I hope you find different games to play with or maybe stuck around. Who knows? And with that, that's going to be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales Tomorrow. Bye-bye.